The basics of kickboxing and self-defense are actually easy. I think a lot of people most perceive, since we watch UFC and then we see someone cut up and bleeding and all that, that it's too much of a brutal sport for them to learn. But actually, besides all that, it's pretty much like a highlight thing. That rarely happens, especially if you're not like a UFC competitive fighter or if you're not like a competitive fighter, okay? In this video, I'm gonna show you how to actually make self-defense easy. All right, guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Sicat Kickboxing Club. My name's Chris. If you haven't done so yet, please like this video, only if you're getting value out of it, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. Also share this with anyone that wants to learn just fighting, self-defense, kickboxing in general. I also run a podcast, the Speakeasy podcast, which I'll click on the show links down below. You get advice from high-level fighters to UFC fighters to practitioners and just your regular hobbyists. So go check that out. So let's get right into it. So what I mean by making self-defense is actually easy is that anyone can do it, okay? What I talked about in my intro of the video is that far too often we see these competitive fights and we see boxing matches and then people get knocked out and all that stuff. But if we're learning it just for self-defense purposes, that doesn't mean that we can't learn it just to learn it. I mean, it's always good to have it in your skill set, because the thing is that once you learn something, once you learn self-defense, and of course you have to keep doing it to keep sharp, is that no one can take that away from you, okay? Like literally no one can grab it from you, physically grab it from you and then take it away from you unless you're like 6 feet underground or something, but that's a whole nother topic. But yeah, it's like anything else. So this is back when I was a kid, before I started to learn how to fight, I was completely scared of it, and rightfully so, just like anything else. Just evolutionary kind of fact that all of us are actually violent people, right? We used to pillage villages, like men would used to pillage villages, and then we take over villages. But somewhere along the way, there was laws so that we can't do that anymore. Not saying that we should anyway, but we can't do that. But naturally, that's why we have our fight or flight. It's literally called fight or flight. You can choose to fight or you could choose to run, right? So it's really innate in you to have that quote unquote killer instinct. Everyone has it. Like, I don't care if you don't know how to fight yet or how to do the basics of self-defense yet. Everyone has that killer instinct, and I guarantee you, men or women, they want to know how to learn how to defend themselves, okay? Not bully anyone, but defend themselves, all right? And again, back when before I used to fight, I used to watch, like, I grew up watching Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, the early stages of UFC. And I'd see that, I'd be like, dude, that's so crazy. I would never do that. Like that was me, honestly. It's like, dude, what? People getting elbowed in the face. But the thing is that the majority of the people aren't going to be like competing, okay? Even at a high level, but even just competing in general. I think that's what like really skews why people, or that's what stops people from actually learning how self-defense, which I think everyone should learn, honestly, because it's just good to know, and why people don't actually take up like a martial arts. It doesn't have to be that way. Like, I'm letting you know that it just doesn't have to be that way. That's what I tell my students too. You can do it to lose weight. You can do it to, say, if you have some stress in your life, you could take it out on the bag, right? You can spar if you choose to, or you can compete, whatever you want to do. But for this video, I'm gonna be talking about your average practitioners, your hobbyists, right? So I take jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, MMA at my gym, and I notice when I take, some of these classes, Like the Muay Thai guys are scared to go into Jiu-Jitsu, and the Jiu-Jitsu guys are scared to go into Muay Thai, right? Because I think since they haven't done it yet, or they have only done it a few times, they think there's this like, it's fight or flight that goes on to their head. It's the uncertainty, and I guess rightfully so, of being hurt. But if you find the right training partners, if you find the right coach, that could be mitigated completely, right? Just find someone that you trust. So I'll get right into it about what I mean when self-defense is actually easy. If you structure self-defense right, then it becomes easy. If you have a coach teaching you how to have a system to where he puts you with the right training partners, if he teaches you right, if he teaches you the proper techniques, if he teaches you the right systems in place, and he partners you up with the right people, that's why it's so important to have like a community of like-minded people without having big egos. So just a simple, I'm going to start a course soon that's very, very practical that everyone can learn, okay? The practical self-defense, real-world tactics and strategies for anyone to learn self-defense, at least so that when anything, or we know how crazy this world is, if anything goes down, then at least, at the very least, you'll be not a sitting duck and actually be able to do something about it, okay? So the system that I run through, the most important system that I run through my students is what's called like flow drilling, okay? And even when you're hitting a bag, it's the word flow, okay? That's the key. And what I mean by that is, even though that, say you've been doing kickboxing for a while, right? On this bag, I'll show you on this bag. If you've been doing kickboxing for a while, right? You're gonna hit the jab, you're gonna move your hip, you're gonna move your hips along with it, you're gonna hit the two and then the knees and all that stuff. Listen, you don't have to go ham on the bag, right? Even with, actually, it gets less when you get up in levels, right? Because you don't want to hurt yourself. The thing is that a lot of people, because they see a heavy bag, they want to go crazy on it because it's a heavy bag. It's meant to be punched. And I get it. Yeah, of course, use it for that. But more importantly, you have to be conscious of your techniques and you have to be conscious of your control. That puts you in a flow state. So, for example, when I'm hitting a bag, look, I'm not hitting it hard. Boom. Right? Boom. 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 What I'm doing here is I'm moving all the extremities of my body, but at about 30%. And where I heard from somewhere, I believe I heard this from Conor McGregor actually in one of his videos, is that when you spar or hit a bag with technique, with full consciousness, and not even hitting it to your full power, you actually build your development more quickly, right? Your improvement on whatever you're trying to do, whether it's a jab or your overall kickboxing, actually improves tenfold because you're actually thinking about what you're doing and not actually just going ham on the bag, all right? So once you get your technique down, one of my structures is that when someone starts off kickboxing, number one, I don't want them to get hurt. Number two, I will show them the technique and then I will tell them to slow it down, because I know that if they're in it for the long run, it's a natural progression, right? So when they start getting the technique down, they automatically in their head will speed it up because they've been repping it out and putting in these iterations and fixing like what they need to do in their body. You know, they're not putting their hands down when they throw a punch. They're not going like that or like that. They're not so stiff. And when I start seeing that, now I'll tell students to start speeding it up. Now, my point is, when it comes to self-defense, that's literally what I'm trying to show. Like, that's literally what I mean by practical self-defense. Everything that I teach in these videos, like the jab and moving your hip, that's literally what you're gonna do in real life with just a little like caveats to that, okay? Little adjustments. Because I know, you know, I'm gonna have these people in my comment section that's like, well, you know, if this happens, if this happens. Look, every scenario is different. Number one, it's just what I would do personally. And not to say that just because you know how to throw a jab or a cross or a knee, that you know fully what self-defense is, because there is grabbing, there is people trying to bear hug you, and then there's trying to clinch you, and then you have to frame off of that and then, you know, elbow them. Personally, for me, I've said this in other videos before, is that I'll try to get close to someone because your hands are very, very fragile, and I don't want to break my hands on your forehead or your cheekbones or something. Even if I hit you in the right spot, I'll still more than likely break it, because these are very, very fragile. I've done it before. I've broken my hands before. So what I'll do is I'll get close to them, frame off, check out my other videos for that, and then I'll use the elbows to kind of attack and use the knees, the hardest parts of my bodies. Hell, even the forehead if you know how to use that, but I don't advise that if you don't know how to do it, because you might hit your nose and break it or something. But yeah, the self-defense is very easy if you just break it down into like terms. Like, okay, so what I mean is that defense, okay? When it comes to self-defense, usually people are focusing on the wrong things. So what I have people do is work a lot on defense so that they're comfortable with it, because it does two things. Psychologically, when you're fighting someone and they're trying to hit you and then you're blocking every one of their punches, right? And then you're slipping, you're moving. Number one, that's a tell-all. That's a tell-all to them that you know how to fight. That's like the basic concept, like no ifs, ands, or buts. When you're doing this and you have proper form and you're standing the right way, they already know and they're gonna get scared off. And even if they know how to fight, psychologically, they know that they can't just walk through you. Like, it's just human nature. Number two is that the more you get good at self-defense rather than offense, right? I know there's this thing where it's like, oh, well, if you're in defense, you're on offense. Well, if you learn defense, if you learn proper self-defense, which technically what it is, right? Defense, you get more confident, right? Because you know how it feels to get hit, you know how it feels to block a shot, you feel the impact coming in, so you know what to expect. And the confidence aspect, like Sean Strickland, the UFC fighter, was saying that confidence just makes you 30% better. Even Joe Rogan said that, and I agree. Confidence makes you for me, it makes you 50% better. And that's not even fake confidence, right? Because you're actually implementing the techniques and moves. You're a fighter. When you train, you're a fighter, right? It's your identity. Like, you're not like, yeah, I'm learning how to fight. No. You're a fighter because you're learning how to fight and you're fighting. So the confidence aspects is a big one. If you can block a shot, it gets you more confident. And the more and more you do it, the more you put iterations and then you rep it out, you just get more confident in that skill, which is self-defense, right? Defense, okay? So what I'll go from top to bottom of my system is that I'll show the jab first, right? This is your line of defense over here. I'll show the jabs, I'll show the two, I'll show the hook, I'll show the uppercut, right? So that you have all the angles. But again, guys, I want to emphasize this point. This is the whole point of the video, is that you don't have to hit a bag hard. That's why kickboxing is for everyone. There's like a big myth over there that you just see something and then it gets so intimidating that people just have this like, oh no, like I don't want to do it, because not even getting hit in the face, but it's like, oh man, that takes a lot of work. Actually, no. Like I mentioned in my other videos, you can shadow box it. You can literally shadow box your technique to where you get proper form, and then you could start working on the bag, depending on your genetics and body type. I work with all kinds of students, you know, from different weights, different heights, to different ethnicities, whatever. Kickboxing is for everyone. So again, what I have them do is that on the bag, I'll have them throw punches first, right? And then I have them do kicks, knees, and all the basics, right? Like push kicks, so that they have it in their arsenal, okay? Those should be learned first, I believe. And then we'll go into the system of defense, right? So different types of defenses. Boom, 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 boom. Long guard, boom, right? Over here, how to check kicks, boom. How to block Dutch style block kicks like this. If a kick's coming here, I'll block it with resistance. And that's what I emphasize more. Now, if we can work on those basics, and along the way, I'll show you some advanced stuff so that you know what to expect from like my classes, right? Or my course or whatever. But it's very systematic and structured to where if you implement it piece by piece, like say you work on the jab, you work on the two, and then the punches, and then the knees, and then you follow the structure of just defense for maybe like about a week, and then you rep it out, even just shadow boxing, even if you don't have someone hitting you in the face, but you do these movements, well, it's going to become second nature to you. It's going to become second nature. And when someone comes at you, you're not going to be like, oh no, like deer in the headlights. You're going to be like, you're going to stand in your fighter's stance, right? Whichever that is, whether it's orthodox or southpaw, you're going to fight in that stance. So that's the whole point, is the system is structured to get you in that second nature mode, to where if a real life situation happens, well, you know how to throw a jab. Hey, get the fuck away from me. Like, you know what the jab is for. You have a understanding of what throwing a two is for, other than hitting someone hard, right? Because a jab or a two could be used to feint. Like I show on my other videos, again, check that out. It could be used to feint, or it could be a stiff jab, or it could be a hard two, right? Like, you can mix it up. So that's technically what I teach in my system. That's why I say self-defense is easy, because look, you are what you practice at the gym, right? If I would recommend, yes, a training partner do flow drills, which means, you know, don't hit them hard, hit them with control, okay? You guys have that agreement, hit them with control, work on the techniques that you learned from like these videos and my course, and then implement it on the bag, and then implement it on a partner. Well, if you're doing it on a real life person with your partner, that's literally like you're fighting outside of the gym. That's the most real that it could get. That's why I spar every time. I'm not actually gonna fight someone on the street to get practice. I'm gonna spar with my trusted, keyword trusted, partners that I know will take care of me and have a lot of control when it comes to, like, you know, hitting me in the face, and then I can work on my defense. And then it's like a playground. We're literally playing like back when we were kids, right? So yeah, that's what makes self-defense easy. If it's structured, if you have a partner that you trust, you can work on those moves, and you have a coach that you can trust to not, because I've seen some coach out there that are very egotistical. It's like, go hit him in the face. It's like, okay, that's not my philosophy. Look, if you like that, you can go somewhere else with that. I get it. I used to compete, so I know what it is, but I'm teaching a different thing to implement it for everyone that can practically use it out in the real world, and not just get CTE and brain damage every training session. All right. So yeah, a little bit of a different video, guys, not too much of a demonstration, but I just wanted to show you that kickboxing is for all types of people. And it's almost consequential to not have it throughout your lifetime, because again, we know how crazy the world is out there. You never know what's gonna happen. Part of the reason why I make these videos, part of the reason why I put self-defense as part of kickboxing, right? Because quite frankly, I want you to be safe. Till the next one, subscribe, like this video, check out the podcast, share this with anyone that wants to learn the art of kickboxing, and I'll see you on the next one.